the Russians use history to divide Ukraine traditionally by saying that, Ukraine is betraying the traditions of World War II, Ukraine isn't respecting the Soviet legacy. There are a lot of cliches about people in the southeast of the country being Soviet nostalgics and being very, very vulnerable to this sort of propaganda. And so, we did a lot of research with Ukrainian partners, understanding how do people really feel about the past. And essentially we found that beneath the veneer of nostalgia, many actually had these reserves of late Soviet trauma. Obvious things like Chernobyl, where they'd been treated terribly and had ended up with sort of like, with terrible medical conditions and just had been treated very badly by the government, by Soviet government. But also things like the Afghan war, nobody talked about it. Actually, everyone had a relative who'd served there and come back or not come back very, very, in a very bad way. All sorts of stuff that people have forgotten about, like sort of like Soviet repression of small businesses. And a lot of the people in Southeast Ukraine are small businessmen. So there are all these stories about the late Soviet period which are just not being told, which when you started to raise them, made people less attached to their nostalgia. I don't think people stop being nostalgic because I think that's something very, very personal. A bit like my stuff about like my Ukrainian past. It's you can't really climb into that personal stuff. But that's kind of up to people if they have personal memories or whatever. But you do want them to get into a place where they don't want that for the future. Yeah, so it gave a kind of like, we'd show people the films and we'd ask them questions, and it was clear that you could actually undermine the political manipulation of the nostalgia. Yeah, because at the end of the day, most of the people in that region wanted what they called a European future. And that's not a Soviet one, and that's not one that Moscow can offer. I was just in Odessa actually on the way here, and like there's always these debates about Odessa and its past, and the statues, and it's a city with a complicated past, but not with a complicated future.